All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to break down a really powerful blueprint for building what you could call true self-reliance. This is all about moving beyond just having a job and toward creating real independent success for yourself. So, let's get to it. Right out of the gate, the source material hits us with this really challenging idea. It says what we possess is merely the security of exchanging time for money, not true financial independence. And boom, right there, that one sentence, it just flips the whole script on how we're supposed to think about our work, and maybe even our freedom. So that leads us directly into the first major concept in this blueprint, something the author calls the security myth. What the source is really saying here is that a steady paycheck isn't the same thing as real stability. It's what's called an illusion of safety. This widespread belief that if you're trading your time for a regular wage, then you're financially independent. But really, it's not ownership of your future. It's just a transaction. Okay, so check this out. It really breaks down into two totally different paths. On one side, you've got traditional employment. You're exchanging your time for money, living under that illusion of safety. But on the other side, there's self-reliance, where you're creating your own independent value to generate your own revenue. The goal here isn't just a paycheck, it's actual financial freedom. And I mean, the difference is night and day, right? Okay, so if the whole job security thing is a myth, then what's the next step? How do you actually break free from that? Well, the source argues the entire journey from being dependent to being independent kicks off with asking yourself one single essential question. And we're not talking about some throwaway question here. This is framed as the fundamental starting point, the thing that's designed to shift your entire mindset. And this is it. What can you accomplish independently? Think about that for a second. What can you do relying only on your own skills, with no boss, no company, no safety net to catch you? It's a pretty intense question, isn't it? Honestly, this one question, it's the bedrock of this entire philosophy. Now, a question like that can feel, well, huge, a little overwhelming maybe, but the source doesn't just leave us hanging with a big question. It actually gives us a practical example of a blueprint in action. So this is where we get to see the author's own game plan. This is the moment where that big abstract idea of self-reliance stops being a theory and turns into a concrete, actionable project. And what's cool is how these steps just make sense. They build on each other. It starts with getting professionally licensed. That's a real, tangible asset you own. Then, mastering an emerging technology like AI. That's an investment in the future. Next, you find practical ways to apply those skills in the real world. And all of that leads to the final crucial step, building your own independent streams of revenue. It's a really clear, logical framework that you could adapt for yourself. A plan like that doesn't just come out of nowhere. It has to be built on a solid foundation. And that foundation, according to the source, is a set of 4 core principles. And look, the source is really clear on this. These aren't just nice-to-haves or gentle suggestions. They're presented as the foundational laws for building your own success. They're basically the non-negotiables if you're serious about taking this path. So let's break these down. First up, you've got self-reliance. This means developing skills that don't need anyone else's permission to be valuable. Second is continuous learning. You're always investing your time in what's coming next, in new tech and new markets. Third, strategic planning. This is about having clear, written goals with outcomes you can actually measure. And finally, number 4 is disciplined focus. Being absolutely ruthless about eliminating distractions that don't help you reach your primary goals. You can really see how these aren't just 4 separate ideas, right? They all lock together to create a pretty powerful system. So after all that, it really boils down to this one powerful final thought from the source material, and it's a direct challenge. The projects you build today will define your professional future. That just shifts the whole focus away from theory and puts it right back on you, on what you're doing right now. So we've torn down the security myth, we've looked at a real blueprint, and we've gone through those 4 core principles. The whole thing really comes down to this one last question, and it's for you. What will you start building?